Farah Orths, you are so welcome to Livsenergipodden. How are you today?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm feeling really grateful to be here and excited to have this
Hmm.
conversation. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why we are here and why we want to meet you is that you have written a fantastic book that you will tell us more about, and it's called Money Loves Me. Money Loves Me, and I fell for it right off, right from the start. So we're here to talk to you about that and what led you to write this book and your relationship to money and how it has evolved over time and what it has given you in life. So who are you? Where do you come from? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's a big question. Yeah, so um, I am I hold ceremonial spaces and journeys to meet a really, really deep love from the divine. And that comes through in different forms. So this book is actually how I ended up meeting a really deep, pure love from the divine through my relationship with money. And so this is kind of one aspect of how I've journeyed with the divine. And it's a really special book in that I think it's not talked about very often, how we can meet the divine and meet ourselves with so much deep love through looking at the really edgy and difficult places with our relationship with money. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of here on this path to do, is to
Mm.
help people, support people in connecting to their innate wholeness and connecting to the fact that we are so loved unconditionally in our humanness, in all facets of life. So yeah, that's my deep why I think that I'm here. Yeah.
Mm. So actually, Farah, you touched on something right from the start here that is so important to just lift because money loves me. It could be that just by hearing that, people might think that, oh no, this is not for me. I don't care about money. Money is whatever to me. And it's management, it's financial, it's all those business things. And so your opening with your deep spirituality is fantastic, actually, just to turn all this around. So we are not here to talk about money as a business thing. Uh, so tell us more about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, totally. It's really good to bring that out straight away because there are so many books, that are money books like that, and they have their place. But that, for me, on my money healing journey, they didn't actually help me. So I read some, like I started to read some, and I was so turned off by the way that a lot of how money is spoken about is really through a kind of patriarchal lens and a very
Mm.
sterile lens, and a way that didn't connect with my feminine heart and the way that I felt so emotionally connected to all other areas of my life. But as soon as it came to money, I felt so numb. And really, what was there was a lot of shame and a lot of emotional wounds that I needed someone to guide me through in order for me to even feel safe speaking about money. So
Mm.
yeah, this book is it's kind of like, I mean, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a registered therapist or anything, but it is kind of like therapy around your relationship with money,
Mm.
so that it's really looking into your relationship with life. This is a book about your relationship with life, about
Mm.
your relationship with the divine, whatever you feel that to be. I'm not religious in any way, but the way that you relate to whether or not this life is taking care of you, whether you feel supported by life, whether you allow yourself to receive even your breath, even your very moment that you're in right now. That's what I'm really interested in. And I think it plays very beautifully into how we also receive money or not, and whether we push it away,
Mm.
and what self worth wounds are underneath there. So it's
Mm.
a very rich subject, definitely.
Yes, in many terms. So why money? So you have bet every penny on the money in this book. So why money and not happiness or
Mm. Yeah.
something
Yeah,
else?
for me, this was really born out of my own personal journey. I never
Mm.
would have expected to write a book about money, ever. If
No.
someone had told me that when I was younger, I would have said, there's no way on earth. And really, that was because for so much of my life, I felt that money hated me, actually, the opposite of what this title of the book was. And I felt like there was something that everyone had gone to school about somehow, not actually school, but somehow had learned how to be with money. And I felt like I was one of the only ones that had missed that lesson.
Mm.
And it ended up making me feel quite disconnected and disempowered in my life, because really, whether we like it or not, we are all coming into contact with money every day in every way. And it's something that, we can think, oh, in an ideal world there wouldn't be money, or a lot of people have those kind of thoughts. But if we really also just acknowledge we've been born at this time in this world, in the society where money is the way we interact with nearly everything. And so if it's something we're interacting with every day, then isn't it really worth it to look into that area and see what's living there? And so when I started to look at my relationship with money, I realized that I didn't have a great relationship with money at all. Um and I had a lot of debt in my 20s, and I just felt so burdened by my relationship with money, and it ended up making me feel so ashamed and felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about it. And through that experience, it kind of ended up being the most challenging thing in my life. And
Mm.
because of that, because it touched almost like the heart of the shame within me, it has now been one of the biggest liberators in my life. So I
Mm.
see money as a portal to be able to touch the shame, the self-worth issues, your relationship to whether you trust life or not. I see money as the portal into that. It's a doorway that it's a
Mm.
mirror that helps us see what's really going on in our lives on a bigger scale, even though it looks like it's
Mm.
about money. And so when we start to heal what's underneath the money problems, then many things in our life change and are liberated,
Mm.
because it was never only about money, but money is almost like a spirit guide that's like, I'm going to help you see these things so that you can heal on a greater scale.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, sounds smart, sounds logic. So, uh, I everything that you say, it makes so much sense. I have I got a question from a dear cousin a couple years back, and she asked me, "What is your relationship to money, or how do you see money?" And that was a question I never received before. And my first thoughts were, uh, it's nothing special. Um, I couldn't really answer. But that question is perhaps one of the most strong questions that have stayed with me over these years. And it has realized that I have obviously issues with money. So when this book came, I just realized this is something, even though we at first, I mean, if you look at the population, I would say that everyone, perhaps 95%, would have an issue with money in some way. Either you spend too much of it, you have too less, you think it's nothing, but it really is. And so every reaction to money is an issue of some sort.
Mhm.
Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone has, even things that don't look like it from the outside. For example, I've seen people that have got millions of, dollars, pounds, whatever. They're millionaires, but they are so afraid of losing it. So, you can be on all sides of the spectrum, but money will be representing something, and it holds something emotional underneath it all for everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We know that you told us that you were in debt in your early 20s, and you were struggling. You had shame about money and all that stuff. Was there a certain turning point where you said to yourself, "I really need to change this"?
Mm. Yeah. So, you know. the shame about money and the debt had got so big that it was really causing a lot of anxiety for me in my life. And I remember, different family members giving different solutions, and maybe you can pay it back in installments like this, and just, and it was all these logical solutions. And I remember something deep within me just told me, you're not going to do it that way. There's going to be a different way. And I didn't know what that way was going to be, but I knew that there was going to be a different way. So I actually had to hold off on doing those logical, practical things. And
Mm.
I waited, and I remember having this kind of mini breakdown of just crying and crying about the debt. And very soon after that, it felt like I'd kind of hit a rock bottom of not seeing a way out. And I couldn't see a way through with the debt, and I didn't know what was going to change. And very soon after that, I heard this voice, this message came through that said, you need to sit in ceremony with money. And at that
Yeah.
time, yeah, and at that time, I hadn't really done that much with ceremony. It wasn't a huge part of my life, but I felt so guided. There was something else guiding that whole thing. And this voice, this I felt it was channeled, told me exactly what to do. And so I was told that I had to sit in closed eyes, ceremony with money, and almost, it was actually called to eye gaze with money in this vision. And it told me different things to do. And it was actually very simple, but I did that. I decided, okay, what have I got to lose? I'm going to do it. And within, honestly, 45 minutes, at first, the ceremony went like this. At first, I felt so much resistance to money. I hated even sitting down and making intentional time to be with money. And I started to just express how much I felt anger and hatred against money and all these things that had built up my entire life. And at some point, once I'd got enough of that true honesty, radical honesty out, something started to shift, and I started to feel this really loving heart, this really loving spirit in the center of money that before looked really not inviting and kind of a caricature, this man. And then it started to change, and this beautiful heart started to come through the money, and I started to feel that even with all of my money history, even with all of my family's money history, even with the debt, I started to get this knowing that I was loved and lovable and whole, even with my specific money story and my shame. And it was just this all encompassing, unconditional love that stretched over me, that I feel the spirit of money gave me. And it was so profound. And within 3 months after that ceremony, I paid off the debt with so much ease, and so much money came into my business kind of out of nowhere. And it was a miracle. The only thing I connected to was deep, immense love, and the spirit of money gave me that. And yeah, it changed everything.
That's fantastic. So, have you always been, I can sense that you are very much within. So you have a deep spirituality in your whole being. Has that always been the case?
It hasn't been as embodied, but it's always been there. So when I was
Mhm.
younger, I would often feel like, I remember I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I would be in the car, and I would just feel this immense love always traveling with me and always accompanying me. And I didn't know what it was. And I would have times where I was able to really zoom out of this human experience and just see the world from this very kind of soul perspective. And I never had where it made me feel quite alone when I was younger, because I didn't understand why that was happening. And I tried to explain it to people, and they didn't really get it. So I always had a connection. Yeah, a very deep connection. But it took me a long time. My teenage years were very inwardly so full of, disconnection and pain. And so it took me a while until that was really my more lived reality.
Mm.
Yeah, and I went on a big journey in my 20s, and yeah, that was since 1920 I've kind of been on this path with the divine, and
It's a beautiful thing that you let it in again.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Mm.
yeah.
So, looking at the money issue thing here, who w- could you identify or say typical issues that people have with money?
Mm.
What are the biggest problems around money for people?
The biggest ones that I've seen and worked with are people that feel that they are mainly living in just enough or not enough. Um, and really the main people that I work with oftentimes have very um they have things around self-worth and actually um accepting unconditional love for all of their humanness. And it's
Mhm.
something that I speak about in the book a lot, is that the society we live in is a society that was born out of the patriarchy. And so fundamentally, there is only specific types of people that actually can thrive easily in this society. And so what ends up happening, especially for people that are more connected with their emotions, more connected with their sensitivity, is that those people grow up feeling that there's something really wrong with them, and they have to
Mm.
conform and be something else in order to be accepted, in order to belong. And from that place, there's very deep self-worth wounds and belonging wounds that can happen, which then translate often into, I don't deserve to receive money as I am. I have to be
Mm.
something else, or I have to be someone else in order to receive money easily. um, and it creates this cycle. And so my work is really bringing people to that foundation of who they are, and helping them feel the love that is already here for them exactly as they are in their humanness, without needing to be perfect, without needing to be anything else, and allowing them to feel connected to money just the way they are, and really from the depths of their heart.
Mm.
Yeah.
What is it that you see with people working with you when they are trying to transcend this issue to something loving?
Mm. It's different for everybody. I think in the book I
Mhm.
also speak about a lot of people who ancestrally are keeping in a very similar pattern to their parents or their grandparents. And it's kind of like, I see it a lot, that we are subconsciously loyal to how our families have lived. So, and it doesn't have to look exactly the same, but it's like an energetic belief of, we don't deserve to have ease in our lives, or we don't really belong. There's this imposter energy, whatever it is. There's so many versions of it, but there's often an ancestral subconscious loyalty that
Mm.
no one would expect. But then when we go into it, it's like, why do you believe that you can't have more money, or you don't deserve to have more money? And it's often that they'll feel that they're abandoning their family pattern in some way on a very deep level.
Mm.
And so I have so much compassion for all of us with our relationships to money, because it touches on such deep, tender things that are often not even ours to begin with. So yeah.
No, that's very true. I
Yeah.
think you're right in that way. I love the idea of the subconscious loyalty
Mm.
that we have, and perhaps you need to dig a little before you
Yeah,
find it. Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. It's yeah, I think our relationship to money can just illuminate these real blind spots, and that's why I think it's such a miraculous thing to work with, because it will show you in the discomfort of, for example, you dreaming for more for
Mm.
yourself, or for you asking for a raise at work, or for you looking at the way you spend. If you like trace it back, there's always a thread, and you can always trace it back to the core underneath it, and it can just be the most incredible tool for meeting more of yourself and liberating more of yourself into love.
Mm.
Mm.
So, was there a certain pattern in your life where where your relationship with money showed itself? For example, I can tell you. So, I see in myself that I put forward paying bills, for example,
Mm.
and I wonder every time why I do it, because I could do it at, right now, but I kind of I push it very consciously or also subconsciously. I wonder why. And so, is there a way this kind of was obvious to you as well?
For myself,
Yeah.
mm, yeah, I mean, even things like spending in my early 20s, spending when I didn't have the money, it felt more comfortable for me to live in a kind of dysregulated nervous system, or in a way where I wasn't actually at ease in life. To feel truly at ease and like everything was taken care of and there wasn't chaos in my financial world, that felt to feel at ease felt more uncomfortable than being in debt. So being in debt
Mm.
felt more comfortable to my nervous system, maybe with family stuff as well. It's like it's um yeah, that's one example for
Mm.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you made that your
My comfort zone.
reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And then when things like debt happen, and um it can be a way of confirming, oh, there is something wrong with you. That's
Mm.
also something I speak about in the book, that for a long time in my teens up to my early 20s, I had kind of OCD and intrusive thoughts, and it made me feel like there was something really wrong with me. And
Mm.
then when money came to the picture and I wasn't able to pay back the debt, for example, that became another way that just confirmed the core, which was already there before the money. It's not
Mm.
about the money, it's what was there before the money.
Mm.
But it confirmed, see, again, you can't do it. There's something wrong with you. Everybody else knows
Mm.
how to work with money. You don't know. There's something inherently wrong. And so it just fitted the perfect picture. It fitted the picture perfectly. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been working with the cover to the book today,
Wow.
and yeah, unfortunately, I can't show it to you. Normally, I have a book here to show you, but still. And what was evident was that uh, our problem is rarely, it rarely has to do with our knowledge about money. It's rather the relationship to it,
Mm, mm.
right?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
we know what to do. We know what it
Yeah.
means. We know what it will lead to if we do like this, but still we do it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the
Mm.
subconscious rules, way more than the conscious. And I think it's my book is not the typical book where it's like, do these things and you'll be free forever. It's about making the relationship with money a more conscious one. That
Mm.
will give you tools forever to relate to money in a different way. It's an ongoing
Mm.
journey, for
Mm.
everybody. There'll be times when we go through having more money, there'll be times when we go through less, there'll be times when we realize, okay, I've achieved this amount or this way of living, and now I'm starting to dream even more for myself. And then you hit wounds that you've not felt since you were, maybe a teenager. And so
Mm.
it's just learning how to almost speak the language of relating to money in this way. And it's a skill, it's a skill, and it's a different way than what we've been taught.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly. So the book is beautifully written. It's not the practical, esoteric or self-help book that you would normally buy. It's rather something that grasps you, and you're stuck with it. You read it more as how do you like a drama book?
Mm.
Um, maybe not drama, but an
It's a
easy to read
journey. Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you do have exercises in there, the rituals.
Mm.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit? So, what's a ritual?
Mm.
Like ritual.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rituals are really, you know, we can read the whole day about a subject, but I care about things really shifting for people. And I think for me, that happens most when we actually practice and we take seriously our relationship to money and give it space and exercises and questions for the relationship to speak and to show us things that we need to work with. So in the book, there's so many kind of practical exercises to do, that will, yeah, not only keep it in the mind but actually bring you into your emotional body and what's happening there when you bring up the topic of money, and give you ways to work through those emotions, and blocks at home, so you're actually feeling some shifts instead of just reading about it. So it's really important for
Mm.
me that the book was a, kind of an interactive experience as well.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I do feel
Yeah.
the book's words, you know, the way the book came through me was so channeled. It just wrote itself. I didn't have to try. It was like the spirit of money just wanted to write this book, and I just had to get myself out the way to let it keep going through. So I know that the book's words also, it's like a transmission. So I know that even just through reading the words, that there are shifts that happen for people, just through kind of breaking through the way that the society has made us see money and opening it up to it being a very spiritual relationship if we allow it to
Mm.
be. And that can shift a lot anyway. Um, yeah. And I found that a lot of the people that read this book, you know, they either already feel spiritually connected or they're curious, but there's something there that calls them into a kind of a deeper way of living than just the surface level. And so
Mm.
what I find is that it's like the readers were like me, where they were aching for a more spiritually aligned way of relating to money. And money was this area where they couldn't feel as connected as they do, for example, when they're walking in a forest and they're feeling, you know, maybe they feel the universe in the trees, or they, you know, connect to the beauty of life. And this book, I feel like, bridges the gap and slots money into your spiritual life, so it's not separate
Mm.
from it. Yeah.
I think you're pointing out something really important here, because I think in our world, our publishing house is mainly publishing books within the spiritual field, of body, mind, spirit, and I think that our readers, and I mean more or less all of them, or the entire interest group within the spiritual field, would kind of think that money is dirty, or money is bad, or it's no good to want money,
Mm.
it's kind of tragic in one way, and it's kind of strange in another way, because the law of attraction and manifestation is a lot about attracting it, magnetize it. And so I don't really understand the different aspects that we have with money, but I think
Mhm.
money is something that we look at, something that is not okay, really, to like or to love or to withdraw.
Yes. Yes. I think you're right completely. It's kind of become, like, it's become a taboo, you know, energy.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And whenever there is a taboo, there's always also gold underneath it for us to be with. So
Mhm.
it's interesting. I think money is the way that money has been used, often most of the time, by very patriarchal men, hasn't been good, hasn't been supportive
Mm.
of the whole of humanity and this earth. And so people often equate money with that. It's like it's had a really bad marketing campaign, you know, but
Yeah.
not the truth of money. The money itself, for me, what I feel and have experienced is that, and I'm sure many of your readers will feel the same way, you know, the universe, the divine spirit is in everything. There is not one
Mm.
thing on this planet that does not hold, um, that is not oneness. We are all made from the same substance, right? We're woven from the same divine thread. Um, including, you know, the shadow and the light. It's all here. We're all the same being, split into, you know, 8 billion people, and split into money and trees. And, you know, that's how I see the world, and that's how I experience the world. And so I remember feeling kind of a question coming in me that was saying, why do I think that spirit can be in the trees and can be in the dolphins and the whales and humans and all the, but it somehow can't be in money? Why would that make any sense when actually I believe in ultimate oneness of us all, and I experience the world in that way? And I think there is a kind of weird contradiction with a lot of spiritual people where they feel that oneness with life, but somehow they think money is something separate outside of it.
Yeah.
To me, it's not true. It's all one. And, you know, when we actually look into manifestation practices and ancient ways of connecting with this world, so much of it is to do with the practice of being truly in that state of oneness with absolutely everything in this world. And I think what's happened is people have separated themselves from money and pedestalized it or put it somewhere that is not able to be at one with them. And so a lot of the practices are actually coming into that deep heart within us that we all have, where we are connected with everything in existence, everything, including money, and just making money one of the things that we're included, that we are at one with. And so when we do that, we break any kind of pedestalization or hierarchy, and we allow it in our fields again. We allow ourselves to be not separate from money. We allow money to be just as natural to us as being with the tree or being, you know, being with the earth. It's the same. It can be the same energy, and it doesn't have to have such a resistance between us and money. So for me, the heart work, really coming into deep oneness, is what I feel it's miraculous and is so healing and reminds us of the truth of this life. So yeah.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Mhm.
So, is there any of the rituals in the book that you would recommend anyone who hasn't read the book yet,
Mm.
because it hasn't come out, and while they're waiting for it and are curious to start, and or perhaps really in need for something to change, shift right away, right now, is there a ritual you would recommend them to do?
Yeah, I think what comes up naturally right now is um, I would recommend them to write a letter to money. So the first, so yeah, to write a letter to money, and actually in the book, this is one of the first things, but this is a stage that I think is often missed in spirituality or spiritual practices, not in more ancient cultures, but in our new age spirituality, which is to be with the grief, which is to be with the uncomfortable feelings and truly make space for them. So for me, I would recommend write a letter to money and be radically honest with what you feel about money. Don't try and make it pretty. Don't try and make it all love and light. Be with the raw, wild experience of how you've experienced money in this lifetime. And start the letter by saying, "Dear money, this is how I really feel about you."
Oh, God, I almost start to cry. I think it's very, very that's tough.
Mm. Yeah. But if there's
Okay.
any hope for healing or working with money long term in a different way, we have to be honest. We have to share the grief. And
I guess we're not honest with ourselves enough,
yeah, totally.
because it's honesty towards oneself. It's not honesty to the
Yeah,
money. It's not honest to the
exactly.
paper. It's honesty towards ourselves.
Self. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
God, something. It's so hard to be in the pain.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It is. And yet, those are the parts of us that need meeting the most so that the rest of our lives, we can actually live in true joy, in true receivership. You know, if we're avoiding so much of our pain, which we all do naturally, you know, it's a learned practice, but when we avoid our pain, we also can't truly receive full loving, because there's always that niggling feeling underneath it saying, I'm not worthy of this, or, you know, and that, so when we go into the pain and we allow it to have a voice and be felt, and actually just commit to it, saying, I love you enough to stay here with you no matter what you reveal in me, no matter how much you want to scream, shout, cry, I'm staying. And that's often what we didn't get from our parents, right? So we're
Mm.
reparenting ourselves, and it's just foundational to this work and to any work. And I think, you know, a lot of the money healing I saw before was like, just think your way into a better relationship and just think positive
Mm.
and it'll all be fine. And just, but what I found was that there was a huge part of myself that I was suppressing, and that didn't go away just by me
Mm.
thinking positively. And it was only when I
Yeah.
truly allowed the grief to come out, allowed the anger to come out,
Mm.
allowed the disappointment towards money and really towards the divine. This is what is
Mm.
often like shown is, we think we're angry at money, but often we're angry at the divine, the universe. And it shows us where we're not trusting. And when I allowed that to come out, then it was like, oh, now there's space within you for a new story. All of that
Mm.
shame was taking up so much space. All of that anger or resentment was taking up so much space in your body. Your body was taking the shape of it. And now you've cleared it out. There's that unknown. There's this like
Mm.
fertile void that is ready to give a new story. But we have to clear it out first and let it be there with love. Clear it
Mm.
out with love, not even pushing it away. Just, you get to be here. I'm going to pull a seat up at the table for all these different parts of me and be in this practice. And through that, yeah, a new story can finally be birthed. So I would recommend doing that letter, and then after you've done that, just letting the question be, I'm open to the possibility of a new story with money. That's it. Just, I'm open to the possibility of a new story with money. And then just see what starts to shift. You don't need to know. Just,
So because that was my next question. So that's the beginning. The letter is
yeah,
the beginning. It's kind of
yeah,
an opening.
yeah.
So what do you do with it afterwards? So
The
this is
letter,
what you do. No,
yeah,
no. So you kind of
yeah,
answer that
yeah.
by, so you just open yourself up to a new story with money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the
Yeah.
book, you know, the main part of the book is really meeting the heart of money and going on that
Mm.
ceremonial journey.
Mm.
Um, but I feel that's better when it's guided on. I mean, my website has, I think, a free practice that you can do of that, but the book really takes you on a deeper journey into that. So,
Yeah.
um,
But maybe a
yeah,
combination.
yeah, a combination, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and and if you wanted to burn the letter, you can, but you can also just, you know, I think so often, sometimes energetically, when we burn something, it's like we're pushing it away as well. And, you know, also in your home, this is something you can do, is you can create a little money altar, just a little, like you put one sweet flower that you found outside there, and you put maybe a coin or whatever, and you leave the
Mm.
letter there, and you just let it, you just tend space to it, and you lovingly create space for your relationship to money to
Yeah.
change into a more intentional, conscious one. So
Mm.
yeah.
So when we talk about this, so my relationship to money, it has obviously changed, and I'm becoming better at handling. It sounds like it's a disaster. It's not, but even though I can definitely be better
Mm,
with my financial
mm,
stuff. So, but when you talk about this letter, so many feelings and so many ideas about what I think about money comes up. So
mm.
obviously you are right. We can, we can be better in the practical sense, but there are so much wounds underneath still needs to be attended to.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. That's where I would say the real work is. And
Yeah.
then because then we're not, it's like thinking of a puppet, for example, and all these strings are attached to different things. And often with our relationship, I mean, in life, but in our relationship to money, let's say, our subconscious patterns, our family patterns, our fears are actually picking up the puppet and making the actions. Then once you actually look at what's picking up the different parts of the puppet and making the actions, and you start to heal that and free each thread that leads to the puppet, then you've got a chance of, then when you tune in, you actually get to have choice over what your actions are instead of these subconscious choices being made for you. um
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You're on your own.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that,
Not on your own, but you
no,
are you're
yes,
free.
totally,
You're
you're not
free.
just yeah, totally, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And it's
So
it's a
what?
long, it's a long journey, you know. I'm on the journey just as much as everybody that reads this book. We all have our own
Mm,
specific things that come up at different times and different waves of
mm,
the journey that ask us to heal different things. And I
mm,
think it's like, it's about being very compassionate to yourself on this journey, and you know, not even having this perfect image of what you think you'll become. This is, we're human, we're inescapably human. So just
mm,
knowing that it's okay for it to take time, or for it to feel um not always easy in this healing your relationship to money, or whatever it is, like, just let yourself be human on the healing journey is what I really care
mm,
about, and what I teach and what I embody myself, you know, when nobody's perfect and we're all just doing our best. So that compassion can really help us in this healing journey a lot.
mm. So just to be concrete about some of the outcomes, or it sounds really boring to say outcomes in this sense, but still, so some of the results you can feel by doing the work with the spirit of money
Mm.
is.
Mm. I mean, there's the emotional outcomes, and there's the actual more evidential on the outside outcomes. They're both, to me, as important as each other.
Mm,
Emotionally, so much of your self-worth can be reclaimed through
mm,
this work. So much of your wholeness. The book is so much about remembering that you are already whole, remembering that you're already innately loved, and that you don't need to do anything or become anybody else to receive that love. It's really about learning how to receive. This book is about learning how to receive
mm,
love through all the ways in life, and how to receive your life and really know that you innately are meant to be here and deserve to let love in, no matter what, no matter what has happened in the past, no matter what has happened for you right now. You just deserve love just as you are,
mm,
and nobody can ever take that away from you. That's the one message that I want people to know, is how loved they are just as they are. And when we know that, our true self can come out. It's
mm,
revolutionary, you know, like, it can change somebody's life just knowing that deeply. So that's really at the core of the book, and that's what I feel money is also teaching us, if we allow it to. And then in terms of results with money, I mean, there's been amazing things that have happened, even just in a ceremony. I remember I did a ceremony with a private client, and she messaged me straight after. I did a money ceremony with her, and she messaged me straight after the ceremony, and she said, "Farah, you won't believe it. During the ceremony, I got an unexpected email from my work, and I hadn't even like asked for it or applied for anything, but I got a $20,000 raise
oh,
whilst we were in the ceremony." She got an email about it whilst we were in the ceremony. And, you know, we were just doing energetic work. We were just doing
yeah,
energetic healing on the relationship and
yeah,
emotional healing. And things like that happen a lot. I mean, people have got checks through the mail that they didn't expect. And there's been so many beautiful things. A friend only she only started reading the beginning of the book, and
mm,
then she left and she was like, "Oh, maybe it's not the right time." And we talked a little bit about our journeys with debt and what I'd gone through and how I healed it. And then she left it. Then within a few months, um she had some inheritance come through that she never expected, and that paid off all of her student loan that she thought she'd be having to pay off for 30 years or something. So it's just these little, we can't underestimate how much this emotional work changes the entire field of our life. Yeah. And when we're finally open to receive, when we're finally open to let life be good, to let life bless us, to know that we're worthy of when we're actually saying an energetic yes to life.
Yeah,
Instead
exactly.
of a no, or like, I have to stay safe, I have to stay comfortable. And,
Yeah.
book helps you step into the saying yes to your life. So, yeah.
So do you, I mean, with all the with the situation in the world right now, we're not in the best situation of learning to cope with money in a better in a better way, would you say? I mean, I normally don't hold too hard on my money, but
Yeah.
right now I can feel a difference from 2 years ago. And I think many people do. What do you think? What do do you feel this? What do you think about it? Can you, how should we respond to this time?
There's two ways that I want to go with it. One is to acknowledge what is happening and what many people are feeling and facing, and that needs to be validated. And like I said in the beginning, the grief, the anger, the fear needs to be validated and created space for. That needs to be felt. So I never ever say to bypass any of that. The way through is always to be with what's here first. So that's always the first step. For me, the way I feel and see humanity is that we go through many waves. And this is a part of a wave that feels really sticky for so many people. But I would be careful to attach too much to that story, that it's that the way that our brain thinks that things are going to go means that it's going to go that way for us. I would stay open in possibility more than ever right now.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to
Yeah,
say. Yeah,
that's how I feel. Yeah,
stay open in the possibility. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
Because
not
that's the
shut
really,
down.
and not shut down and not create hard truths for ourselves when we don't know.
Exactly. No.
And stay more in that deep heart that is connected to everything and all possibility at all times. That's where I would invite people to be with as much as possible. Yeah. And that's my practice as well.
You're so wise, Farah. I think you are. Let's talk a little bit about the title.
Yes.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
Money Loves Me. What's in it for you? Why did you choose this title?
Yeah, I chose that title two reasons. One was that I wanted people that didn't even ever read the book to see it and just feel that, just give them that gift of reminding them that maybe there's a different way and that money loves them. And the second thing is that for me, it was the opposite of what I believed for most of my life. So, like I said, I used to believe money hated me. So for me, through that ceremony and through the work I did with money, I really came to feel that money truly had love for me and has for every single person that will read this book or doesn't read it, but every single person in the world. There is a loving spirit within money that has no filter, no conditions, and that utterly loves us. And that is really source loving us. So that's what it means to me. It brings us back into that deep unconditional love.
So when I saw it, I figured, so, it can feel like a peek in the eye a little bit. And but it's a perfect affirmation, right? So in Swedish, it's called Pengar älskar mig. So it's the the direct translation of money loves me.
Mm.
And I think it's beautiful as an affirmation. I think it's fun to just make people wake up to this. I want it as a, you know, um, a picture
Yes.
in front of me when I work,
Yes,
just to,
exactly. That's
yeah,
why I hope that people would have it in their house. And just when they
yeah.
see it on the bookshelf, money loves me, it gives them, it reminds them,
Mm.
it's the affirmation.
Do you know Louise Hayes and Robert something? Wrote a book a few years ago before Louise actually passed away, and it was called Life Loves You.
I know,
Yeah.
I only found this out after the book had come out, and
Yeah.
someone told
So
me
this,
about it.
the two of them will be
Yes,
perfect as
exactly. Yes, yes, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I have
because I
one
met
now.
I met him at a Hay House party, and
Mm.
he told me about that book, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know about it," and it just felt beautiful. Yeah, yeah,
Ah, it is.
yeah.
So shortly about you and your family. So where do you live actually?
I live in Devon, in South England. Yes, yes.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh, it's beautiful, close to the coast, right?
yes. Oh my gosh, yes. So
Mm.
much beautiful nature here. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have one younger sister. She's, yeah, two and a
Mm.
half years younger than me, really close.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In the book, you speak a little bit about where you have your heritage from. So where is that? And
Yeah.
are you born in the UK or?
So I was actually born in France, but I only lived there for 8 months, and then we moved to Germany. So I'm half German and half Pakistani. That's my heritage. And then from the age of 7, I moved to the UK. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So you speak many languages?
I speak German and English, and that's it really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good,
yeah.
good, good. So so the spirit of money.
Mm,
So because we touched on this, and from your perspective, and how you feel and how you met the spirit of money, but how to our new readers here, um, what would you say about the spirit of money? What is it?
mm. So for me, what kind of was revealed was that there is a really loving spirit guide within money, and the spirit of money is what I speak about as being the innate heart of money, like the deepest part of money and what we know money to be, that there is a pure heart in the middle of that being
Mhm.
that is here to guide us and to actually support us and help us, and so many people believe that money is against us and doesn't want the best for us, but I feel the loving spirit of the universe in everything, including money, and that, you know, the confrontation that it brings sometimes, if we can learn how to translate it, is a loving call in. um and that's the spirit of money. There is an intelligence in your relationship with money, and the spirit of money is here to help us all, if we choose to work with it that way.
Yeah. I am intrigued by the spirit of money. I want to meet this spirit. In Swedish, we call it pengarnas själ. It's the money of the soul of money.
Soul of money.
Direct translation. I hope that resonates with you.
Beautiful. Yeah, totally.
Hmm,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
That's,
If someone listening feels stressed about money right now, what would you want them to know?
that's a great question. I would invite them to close their eyes and place a hand on their heart space and really feel the universe, love itself, spirit hugging them right now. And like a the sweet child within us, just stroking their hair and being with them and saying that it's okay that they feel this way, that there's nothing wrong with them for feeling the fear. And breathing with that for a while, allowing themselves to be human, allowing themselves to have fear. And noticing what happens when we just allow what is here to truly be here in love. And knowing that even if they feel too afraid to feel that feeling fully or to be with that fear, that love is holding both of them. It's holding them as the human and the scared child within them. And if they felt open to it, I would also invite them to be curious and ask for a message from the spirit of money that they need to hear right now. The most loving heart of money. Ask that spirit to give some wisdom to you in this time. What do I really need to hear from the spirit of money right now? And can I allow that in? And just be curious and see what happens.
Yeah, that's very nice. So to everyone out there feeling scared or stressed about money right now, this is a nice practice to get your own answers.
Yes, exactly. Everyone
Yeah,
has a relationship with the spirit of money, and everyone can
yeah,
receive their specific answers. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. Good one. So I have a few short ones, like
Mm.
4 super short ones that I say something short and you say something
Yes,
short as an answer.
let's
Okay,
go.
it's about money.
Okay.
Okay, so money is.
Love.
Wow, I didn't expect that. Money is not.
Mm. Money is not material.
Abundance is.
What we are.
Financial peace feels like.
Mm. That one is interesting. That one I don't have an answer for because I feel that it is. I really want to say that financial peace comes from before the financial peace. It comes from knowing your wholeness and your belonging. So yeah, different
Hmm.
route there.
Hmm. Is it a different thing to say money peace feels
Mm,
like?
money peace feels like. I would say, for some reason, I keep wanting to say like your innate belonging is the same
Yeah,
feeling as money peace. It's like a different route round, but it's yeah, yeah.
yeah. It
Mm.
makes sense. Okay. So, Farah, I am really curious about your ceremonies and your what you actually do for a living. For what do you do for a living without authorship,
I
besides your authorship?
Yes, I hold ceremonies full time, and I do
Yeah.
one-to-one client work. So all about allowing people to feel held by life and nourished by their connection to spirit. And also I hold, one-to-one clients also with money healing, but all with that same root of allowing yourself to receive life in such a deeper way. Yeah, so that's what I do
And
full
you
time.
do this online and
Yes, online.
physical. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly online actually, because I
Oh
traveled
yeah.
for many years in my late 20s, so I kind of brought everything online. So, yeah.
Oh.
Mm.
So what is it? Is there a certain pattern when when someone if someone cannot break through this transition, is there a certain pattern you see? What holds us back?
Mm. I mean, I think fear is the main thing underneath it, but people's stories of being separate can be so strong that is really the most challenging to work with, but also, you know, that's the main, it's so simple. It's usually that people believe it can work for everybody else but not them, or, you know, yeah, and really underneath it, it's believing that they're somehow separate to life and to the way that life wants to work through them. So just going into that wound and really helping them remember the unconditional belonging, even with that belief there, is magic. And I just love that. I for me, if I'd heard someone when I was in my teen years or my early 20s say, you don't have to get rid of this thing for you to feel at ease in life or to feel like you belong. You actually just get to learn how to be with this wound and still receive love. It doesn't need to go anywhere. Your humanness, your fear doesn't need to go anywhere. You just need to learn how to stretch love over all of it. And yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah, it helped me a lot in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, last but not least, this is your first meeting perhaps with your Swedish audience. Yeah. Is there anything you want them to know or you want to say something to them?
Just that your money story is so welcome here, and there's no money story that is too much to be able to work with and bring deeper ease into and love into. And you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you if you have money stuff. There's nothing wrong with you at all. It's okay. And that you're so lovable. Even with the exact money story you have, you're so lovable. It's okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Farah. We got so much from this hour. I am super excited to launch this book in the beginning of May.
Yes, I'm so excited
Yeah.
as well. Thank you for wanting to bring it to your Swedish audience. It's beautiful to feel that.
Yeah, it has its place here. It needs to be here. I'm sure of it. Yeah. So I want to thank you, Farah, for your time. Farah, rather than Farah, right? Farah. And wish you a beautiful rest of the day, week, and spring. And I hope perhaps we can have an online meeting with our readers later on.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Let's do that. Yeah.
That would be wonderful. So thank you again. Have a good life now until we meet again.
Yes. Thank you so much. Oh, I really enjoyed this so much. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll send you a picture of the cover of the book.
Perfect. I'd love that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.